I would like to tell people about our new show here called Wheels to My Cheese with Tubbs. Say hello.
Hello.
So, all we do in this is kind of just bitch very loudly about things that we enjoy, or rather, things we enjoy with blemishes on them. We only complain this hard because we love these things. And for today, on our docket is MMOs. Tubbs, would you like to start?
Sure. I love MMOs. My first MMO was City of Villains, not City of Heroes, City of Villains. And then that pivoted into WoW for many, many years. And then Star Wars: The Old Republic and stuff like that. So I do love MMO RPGs. I do. I really, really do. Which is why when you see one start throwing itself away, chasing more and more money, it's
Which
very
has been
sad.
most of them.
It has been. I mean, they have to make money. I understand that. But having a subscription and then a battle pass and then all these other things, it's crazy.
And then you have to buy the $100 expansion every time.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's and I don't blame the devs because that is clearly being pushed by corporate.
Oh, absolutely. Their overseers at corporate are the ones who pay for that. Devs they pay for completely other problems. But go on.
Well, I mean, the devs do have some problems. Pointing specifically at Blizzard because they've done this
Yeah,
is when their fans are saying, "I want this, I want this, I want this," and what does Blizzard say? You don't want that. No, you don't want that. You want more of the same of what we've always given you. You don't want anything different. But what they're really talking about when they're talking about that are the 1% of players that are never going to be satisfied regardless.
oh yeah. By 1% we mean the crazy people who treat it like a job. Like, they play the raid on the hardest difficulty. That's literally all they do. That's all they log in for.
Yeah, and if someone's just logging into Raid and then they log off, or maybe they'll log on to farm mats, for potions or elixirs or whatever. But that's
Are
yeah,
they
you've
even
got a customer for life basically, regardless of what you do at that point.
true? But are they even really having fun? Do they even actually enjoy it? They kind of treat it like a job at that point.
Yeah, and so from a corporate perspective, yeah, that's great to have people who are willing to give you money. But from a design perspective, specifically from an artist perspective, do you really just want to make games for people or art really for people who don't enjoy it?
Yeah, those types are the kind who will experience your game as little space they possibly could. They're there for a checklist rather than actually enjoy whatever created experience you had for them or narrative.
Well, it's like this is a big problem in Star Wars: The Old Republic. How they'll just run from boss to boss, and they'll pull every pack, and then it's like, okay, now we just die at the boss gate, and we don't have to go through this.
Oh yeah, that is specifically a tutor problem too. Or
It is.
rather, that's the
Well, I
worst
mean,
I've seen it ever be in
every game has skips. Oh, run around this pack of mobs, wait for them to pass, whatever. Not charge through them all.
tutor. That's the only one where when you're queuing for normals, everyone just expects you to do that because what are new players? You don't get those anymore.
And I get it. You've run the dungeon 1,000 times, so you don't want to run. You don't want to run it anymore. But if you're at that point, are you really even like? Should you even be doing this content anymore? Do you
Or
really even
really
enjoy
playing
doing
it.
this content? Do you enjoy this game at all? Take a step back, take a break, find a new love for it.
So keep persisting until you hate it and you become a fucking menace to be around.
Yeah. Well, that pivots into a very good discussion on Group Finder, which was both beneficial and negative for MMOs. I was playing WoW since vanilla. I mean, I was a kid, but I was playing WoW since vanilla, and Didn't get to endgame in vanilla or BC because I was still too young, but I was in high school when Wrath came around, so I got to endgame finally, and that's when Group Finder was added in.
You finally didn't have to sit in full chat like before, asking
Well,
for, looking for group.
the way Group Finder worked, was nice, and it still had heroic lockouts at the time, so you would go through, you know, I forget how many dungeons it was, the 5 or 8 dungeons, and then you were done for the day on that character. You couldn't just run it endlessly. You were done. You
Oh,
had an excuse to not go forward anymore because you were locked out on those heroics on those characters. Now, the reason that became a problem is you know how many people quit Group Finder like after a boss or 2 bosses, so they would screw you.
I also didn't know
Well,
there were heroic lockouts. That actually sounds pretty good.
yeah, there were daily heroic lockouts through that.
Yeah, a player
Uh,
couldn't just kill themselves on the grindstone, barring that edit stage for the day. That's
well, it
nice.
burns your passion for the game too.
Yeah, when you're
Um,
treating it as a tour that you're not enjoying, regardless of whatever payoff you get, that's soul crushing.
well, the whole problem is that Group Finder was introduced because the players gate kept too hard. It became one of those things of, oh, you can't come do this dungeon with us because you don't have, or you don't have, you haven't done any heroics before, and we're trying to just get through this fast. And it was people only going with their friends or their guildies, which is fine. But the problem is, try joining a guild halfway through an X-Pack when most of the cliques are already formed.
Oh yeah, that's a major problem. And I ran into that myself. Hey, you don't have gear for this dungeon. We don't want you in this dungeon where you get the gear from.
And see, group finders also become that in WoW, where they added mythics, and they don't have the rando group finder for it. They have the
The freebie
you
group
know,
finder. Yeah,
but then people filter you out because they're like, oh, the item level's too low. Oh, they link your achieve. Oh, you don't have the achievement. That you're not. We don't want you. So it the community gatekeeps a little too hard because I get it. Training a new person is annoying, especially if they're not going to stick around.
yeah. But their solution
But
is make sure they don't stick around, which is
that's
a
the problem.
problem.
It becomes a self fulfilling prophecy where people don't want to train the new people, so the new people get no training, so they leave. And then what does the corporate do? We're not making as much money because subscriptions are down. Find a way to choke the player base.
And what few they have get even fewer.
And then you know what the other problem you run into with Group Finder? And this is dominant in Elder Scrolls is people queuing fake. So fake tank, fake healer. So and yes, we can 2-man a dungeon. You and me can 2-man any dungeon on normal.
They're right again.
But the problem is most people can't. So you get a new guy, and then you get this damage guy queuing his tank who's not taunting. So the new guy is getting a horrible experience when they're in this dungeon. And then I've seen this when new people ask, tips for getting gear. I've seen guilds tell them, "Oh, just queue his tank or queue his healer, but be a DPS in a dungeon."
Which is garbage advice. It is a
Yeah, no,
self-perpetuating problem.
and it's gotten to the point where when you're like us, where we can basically solo any normal. We except for a few DLC ones, we can solo any normal. So if I queue there, if I don't see a shield on the tank's back, I just solo the dungeon because I just want my transmute crystals.
And by
In
the way, for context, because having to put up with this group fighter, he had to design builds that it didn't need other people to function. It's that bad. You have to build like a god. Because we don't have to need anyone else.
And so yeah, well, at least that problem doesn't persist in trials because that is the pre-made group finder. And so if you try to fake tank or fake heal, you'll normally get booted pretty quick.
For context, he is so close to race trials. Anyway, yeah,
But yeah,
when a
the
healer or attack is in a dungeon and you're a DPS and they're not doing their job, or rather their intended job of healing or tanking, you're just a DPS. And if you have DPS healers like we do, and you notice they're not even doing that well as a damage, then what the fuck?
that's the worst when you get a fake tank or fake healer, and so it's like you're hoping, well, at least maybe you're good damage. No, there's shit damage, so you actually do need the tank or the healer. But a issue with that is that Group Finder has created a self-perpetuating problem. The most fun I ever had with Group Finder was actually Mr. Pandaria, when at the end of Kata they tested LFR for the final raid in Cataclysm.
Sounds
Um,
fine or death for you. How did that go with randoms?
yeah, see, I came back at the end of Kata because I took a break in the middle of it. And I couldn't get the last part of the trial. I only got to do it once, that raid. But I had a ton of fun in Mr. Pandaria when you get your heroic geared. Okay, now you're geared enough to go to LFR, so we go to LFR and we get the gear there. And now I'm geared enough. I find a guild and we're doing normals. See, it was a nice progression, and what threw a big wrench in that progression was the mythics in WoW when WoD came around.
Both.
Or
Oh,
actually,
yeah.
Mythic started in Legion, I think. Right? No,
I want to
WoD.
say WoD
Yeah, no,
had
it
the
did start
first
in WoD. I,
mythics.
I remember doing one in WoD. That's why. But they added flex in WoW with Siege of Orgrimmar. At the end, they added flex difficulty. And just before WoD came out, they increased the drop rate on heirlooms, so you were guaranteed to get the heirloom from
I forget.
Garrosh. And so I have my rogue heirloom, which is really neat.
I forget. And also for the viewer, what is flex difficulty?
Oh, it adjusts based on how many raiders you have. So if you're doing, I think it adjusted over 10. So if you had 11, 12, 13, it would adjust the difficulty.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good. It's a shame I never got to that point. Or rather, I did, but people are obsessed about only doing it with as
But
many people as possible. I would have loved to
I
only do
lied.
Grace, the only 10.
I lied. I did do a mythic raid, but it wasn't until a BFA. It was the temple, the Titan temple in Zandalar.
I remember that one. You told me you embarrassed of a lot of people with your fresh warlock guy.
Yeah, which isn't good. Well, I mean, she wasn't fresh. But I only had world gear. I was brought into a mythic raid just because they needed someone, and I was top 3 DPS, and it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling when you know that you shouldn't be here and you're top 3 DPS.
Oh yeah, imagine that you're underqualified gear-wise. And then on the meters it says you're the best. And you're like, oh no, these people are idiots.
Yeah, and I wasn't even in a good raid spec at the time. I was a demonology warlock when everyone was being destro
Oh
or
yeah.
affliction.
And you know what else sucks? That was my guild at the time.
Yeah,
You're dead now.
that's rough. That's where we met actually.
Correct. I killed the guild in Eden.
But yeah, no, it's and the sad thing is that Group Finder it started positively, where you
Yeah. I actually like the idea of it. It's the people who take it with their stupid gatekeeping. I never know how hard a dating app for men was until I tried using the group finder in a while. Miserable. I quit.
that's actually a good um
Analogy.
analogy. Yeah, it is like being on a dating app for men. You don't have the right achievement. Oh, sorry. You haven't done mythic. this mythic dungeon before, and even though we're on a mythic 1, I want you to be mythic 5 geared so we can
Yeah,
breeze through it.
absolutely no regard for anyone, too. And that's why guilds don't really feel like this is for community anymore. It's all just an office now. A really competitive office for some reason.
Well, I think the big problem with that too was the rise of TeamSpeak and Vox and
I suppose,
Discord. Is so much of the conversation is done outside of the game now.
yes, but people don't have to be a dick about it.
Yeah, no, that is the problem. And you know what really screwed Group Finder was that group finding heroics is let's use WoW as an example. Group finding heroics is worthless because you can get better gear from doing world quests, even though it's random, but you could get better gear from there and get better gear from LFR and you can even get better gear from mythic dungeons than you can from heroic raids. Towards the end, when they started leaning into that world quest part, I just started doing world quests for gear because I like to play multiple characters. And WoW has become so alt unfriendly. It's crazy.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Even when I was playing all of two characters, keeping both upkept to a high eye level as I could, was a full-time job.
Well, I don't even want them to be at high eye level. I just want them to be able to not struggle with endgame world mobs. But the problem is a fresh capped character is doing worse against uh the world mobs at endgame than they were 5 levels ago.
Oh yeah, because of that world scaling they added.
That actually pivots well into our next topic: bullshit difficulty.
With a capital B.
Why? I'm just a friendly. I'm a silly little guy.